there was a second component to the law that I think Secretary Jokno's not familiar with, which is Section 7. It recognized that even if tuition is free, poor students need living allowance. Diba? For room and board, transportation, miscellaneous, because tuition is usually only about 1/3 of the total college cost, right? So the law is beautiful. It's something to be proud of. Out of about 200 countries, I think there's only 20 countries with a free tertiary education. And our law included free living allowance for poor students. So Secretary Jokno's issues is saying, yeah, enrollment went up, but a lot of students are dropping out, which is true.
Yeah.
Because in the last few years, enrollment went up by 15, 20, 25%, but attrition rates or dropout rates went up, especially pandemic time. So attrition or dropout is about 30 to 40%. The law recognized that, but CHED is not fully implementing the living allowance, what we call tertiary educational subsidy. It's supposed to come from the Commission Higher Education annual budget, because there's also a hidden fund called the Higher Education Development Fund, which is what we call off budget. It doesn't appear in the annual budget. It's now 10 billion pesos. These are earmarked funds from PRC fees, travel tax, and part of PCSO goes to a Higher Education Development Fund. There's a lot of money. We're only complying partly, which is the free college tuition in state universities.
Does the law provide for...
There's a new law that augmented that, called CBMS. I don't want to confuse you, but the LGUs are supposed to do similar to the listahanan, called CBMS, Community-Based Monitoring System.
So they're supposed to identify their poorest of the poor per locality.
Yeah, so I wanted to amend the law to include that. So if you're in listahanan of this WD or poor, as identified by DILG and the LGUs, that you can be entitled to the tertiary educational subsidy. I'm not in favor of an exam that's going to make it more difficult for poor, underprivileged students, especially students from the countryside and rural areas. In fact, I'm the reverse. I think there should be an exam which they're now administering in all state universities. Once you meet that minimum standard, I think children of 4Ps, listahanan, should be prioritized. Children of rebel returnees,